Your greatest visions are always destroyed the moment you speak of them. If you've ever felt that gut drop when you cautiously share an ambitious vision with a friend, only to see their eyes glaze over with skepticism, or felt the subtle sting of a partner's dismissive scoff about your manifestation mumbo-jumbo during a quiet evening, leaving you feeling deflated and foolish, watching your excitement for your dreams slowly shrivel and die, wondering why your once powerful visualizations suddenly feel weak and distant. In 1933, I desired to return to Barbados with no money and no means. My family refused to help. I held the feeling of being there, sleeping in Barbados, but never once spoke of this secret inner work. Within 60 days, money appeared unexpectedly, and a first-class passage was arranged. This was not luck, it was the power of silent assumption made manifest. In this video, I will reveal the forbidden truth about why uttering your deepest desires aloud always drains their power. You will discover the exact mental practice I employed to manifest my most impossible dreams in absolute secrecy. Ignore this sacred law, and you will forever condemn your grandest visions to remain mere fantasies, constantly sabotaged by the very world you seek to change. Now, let me show you exactly how this profound truth operates within your own being. I am going to unravel 7 timeless principles that, when understood and applied, will make you the conscious architect of your reality. Each principle builds upon the last, revealing the sheer power you possess within. By the time we conclude, you will not only understand why your past attempts at creation may have faltered, but you will hold the precise blueprint for manifesting your deepest desires, and yes, even revising your past, starting tonight. Pay careful attention, for the very first principle illuminates the fundamental secret of all creation. Story-proof stack. I recall a time in New York City, many years ago, when I desired to return to my home in Barbados. I had no money, no job, and no prospects of travel. My teacher, Abdullah, had told me, "You are already in Barbados." I argued with him, of course, for my physical senses plainly showed me I was in a small room in New York with not a penny to my name. But Abdullah simply repeated, "You are in Barbados." He commanded me to live and sleep as though I were already there. For weeks, I persisted in this imaginal act. Every night, I would lie in my bed and imagine that I was sleeping in my own bed in Barbados. I felt the tropical air, smelled the familiar sense of home, and heard the sounds of the island outside my window. I walked the streets of Barbados in my imagination. I did not ask how I would get there. I simply assumed I was there. I did not pray for a ticket. I assumed the feeling of being home. My rational mind screamed that it was impossible. The boat was scheduled to depart in a few weeks, and I still had no funds. Yet I would not waver from the feeling of being home. Then, one evening, a sudden, inexplicable urge overcame me to go visit friends. I went. During that visit, my friends offered me passage to Barbados, a first-class ticket, a gift entirely unexpected. They provided the means, not because I asked them, but because I had, in my imagination, already occupied the state of being in Barbados. Within 2 months, I was physically sailing home. The external world rearranged itself, not by my conscious effort or planning, but by the undeniable power of my assumption, solidified by the feeling of its truth. This was not magic. This was the law in perfect operation. My feeling of being there brought me there. It was an undeniable testament to the power of assumption. Subconscious programming. The subconscious mind is the builder of your world. It is impersonal, it is non-selective, and it takes every impression, every assumption, every feeling you give it as a command. When I say feeling is the secret, I mean feeling in the deepest sense, the acceptance of the truth of what you are imagining, as if it were already a physical fact. It is not merely emotion, but the feeling of reality. Your imagination creates the blueprint, but it is your feeling that breathes life into it, imprinting it onto the subconscious. The subconscious mind then, with infinite wisdom and boundless resources, begins to arrange circumstances, encounters, and events in the outer world to perfectly reflect that dominant inner feeling. It operates outside the constraints of logic or probability, for it is the very source of all logic and probability in your manifested world. It is the womb of creation, and whatever you impregnate it with, through the feeling of its reality, it must bring forth. There are no exceptions to this law. It is as precise and immutable as the law of gravity. What you truly feel to be true, your subconscious must make manifest. It does not argue, it simply obeys. Contrast trap. Most men make the grave error of wishing, hoping, or trying to force circumstances. They focus on the lack, the how, and the obstacles, feeling the frustration of their present reality. They expend immense effort trying to manipulate the outer world, only to find themselves pushing against an invisible current, perpetually stuck in the very conditions they seek to escape. Their efforts are like trying to change the reflection in a mirror by altering the mirror itself, rather than adjusting the object being reflected. This struggle perpetuates the very thing they do not want. But the man who understands this law knows that the outer world is but a faithful reflection of the inner state. He does not wrestle with conditions, he turns inward. He assumes the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He closes his eyes to the evidence of his senses and opens them to the far greater reality of his imagination. He rests in the certainty of his assumption, knowing that the feeling of the desired end, embraced and persisted in, is the sole cause required. He becomes one with the feeling, and by this absorption, he compels the outer world to conform to his inner conviction. He knows that his feeling is the creative power. Listen to me carefully. What if I told you that every single frustration you've ever experienced in trying to manifest was simply a misunderstanding of this one profound principle? You've been trying to get something, when all along, you simply needed to be something. This simple shift changes everything. Story proof stack. My personal journey with this principle deepened significantly through Abdullah's instruction. He didn't just teach the law of assumption. He insisted on the absolute reality of the imaginal act. He used to say, the moment you imagine it, it is done. It exists in the fourth dimension, fully formed. This was a radical concept for me, accustomed to thinking of imagination as mere fancy or daydreaming. One instance where this became undeniably clear involved a young actress I knew in New York. She desperately wanted a specific role in a Broadway play, a role for which she felt she was perfectly suited. However, she was told by her agent that she was too young, not experienced enough, and that the director had someone else in mind. The outer facts were stacked against her. I told her to entirely dismiss the outward appearance of things and simply assume the role was hers. I instructed her to create a vivid imaginal scene, herself on opening night, hearing the applause, seeing her name in lights on the marquee, and feeling the overwhelming joy and relief of having secured the part. She did this diligently every night, not for long periods, but intensely, feeling the reality of it. She imagined backstage, the congratulatory handshakes, the smell of the grease paint, the weight of the costume. The physical world provided no encouragement. Her agent even advised her to pursue other auditions, convinced this role was unattainable for her. But she held steady. Lingering doubts, any old, contradictory beliefs that might be subtly undermining your efforts. It overrides the programming of past failures sabotaging future attempts, a belief challenge that keeps many trapped in repetitive cycles. Persistence is not effortful struggle, it is unwavering focus, a gentle but firm recommitment to the inner truth you have established. It transforms a fleeting desire into an unshakable conviction, and it is this unshakable conviction that compels the physical world to conform. It's the difference between a passing thought and a deeply ingrained belief that forms the very bedrock of your reality. Contrast trap. Most men try to manifest something once or twice, and if immediate results don't appear, they quickly abandon their assumption. They mistake patience for passivity and persistence for effort, giving up just as their subconscious is beginning to accept the new impression. They allow the evidence of the senses, the outer world's apparent indifference, to sway them from their inner knowing. They are easily discouraged by the how, or the perceived lack of a clear path, mistaking their temporary lack of physical proof for ultimate failure. This constant starting and stopping, this wavering, is precisely why so many manifestational attempts fail to bear fruit. They ask, is there a daily practice that guarantees results, or is it merely luck? And their lack of persistence convinces them it must be luck, when in truth, it is the unwavering application of this law. But the man who masters persistence understands that time is merely a function of his conviction. He knows that once he has impressed his subconscious, the manifestation is inevitable. It is only a matter of its appointed time. He holds steadfast to his assumption, regardless of external appearances or the whispers of doubt. He revisits his imaginal scene with the joyful certainty of a child, knowing that it is already done and feels natural. His persistence is not a struggle, but a joyful reaffirmation of a truth already established within. He is unwavering, and therefore his results are certain. He realizes that manifestation is only for special people is a false belief, for persistence makes it accessible to all. 5. Declaration affirmation. This affirmation instills unwavering faith and persistence, cementing your commitment to your imaginal acts until they are fully realized in your physical world. It declares your unshakable trust in the creative process and your own divine power. Repeat this with absolute conviction, knowing that your inner world commands your outer reality. I am unwavering in my assumptions. My persistence transforms my desires into tangible reality, always feeling natural and true. I live from the end with absolute conviction, and my world conforms. Let this be your steadfast declaration, a shield against doubt, and a beacon for your desires. Speak this truth daily and watch your world shift. You see, the truth is, manifestation is not about magic or luck. It's about a precise, repeatable method. If you've ever felt that manifestation is only for special people, understand now that this is a lie. This process works for everyone who applies it with persistence, for it is universal law. Implementation, ritual. Now, you have the 7 timeless principles that govern all creation. It is time to put them into action, to master the art of conscious creation and revision, achieving tangible shifts in your reality, effortlessly attracting your desires and rewriting any unwanted past event. Here is exactly how to apply this tonight, a simple, powerful ritual that guarantees results when faithfully practiced. 1. Define your desire or revision with clarity. First, clearly articulate what you desire or what past event you wish to revise. Be utterly specific. What is the precise feeling of having that desire or the perfect outcome of that past event? Leave no room for ambiguity. 2. Create your implied imagine. Scene. Construct a brief, vivid scene in your mind that implies the fulfillment of your desire or the successful revision of your past. It must be something you would naturally experience after the event has happened. Make it sensory-rich. What exactly do you see, hear, touch, smell, and most importantly, feel? For instance, if it's a new home, imagine yourself turning the key, walking through the door, touching the walls, smelling its freshness, and feeling immense gratitude and relief. If it's revising an argument, imagine the other person speaking kindly and you responding with grace, and feel the peace of that harmonious interaction. 3. Enter the state akin to sleep. SATS. Lie down in your bed. Relax your body. Allow your mind to drift into that drowsy, languid state, neither fully awake nor entirely asleep. This is where your conscious mind's resistance is lowered and your subconscious is most receptive. Breathe deeply, gently, focusing on the rhythmic rise and fall of your breath. 4. Perform the imaginal act with feeling of naturalness. In this SATS state, mentally enter your chosen scene. Experience it from a first-person perspective. Feel the reality of it. Do not just see it, be in it. Repeat the scene over and over, gently, until it takes on the feeling of naturalness, a quiet certainty, a sense of having already accomplished it, or of it simply being a normal, accepted part of your reality. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the peace that comes with the wish fulfilled. This is the crucial step. 5. Persist until sleep. Hold this feeling, this imaginal scene, this feeling of naturalness, until you naturally drift off to sleep, feeling the reality of your desire. Do not force it, simply dwell in the feeling, letting it lull you into slumber. 6. Daily reinforcement and revision. Throughout your waking hours, whenever old, unwanted thoughts or memories arise, immediately revise them. If a negative past event comes to mind, quickly replay it in your imagination with a desired, positive outcome. If doubt about your desire creeps in, Gently return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the feeling of naturalness. Reinforce this throughout your day. This is your continuous, conscious practice. Timeline promise: by committing to this nightly ritual and consistent daily practice, within 30 days, you will notice profound, tangible shifts in your reality. You will experience situations rearranging themselves, opportunities appearing, and even people in your life responding differently, all aligning perfectly with your deeply impressed inner state. You will effortlessly attract your desires and realize that the past no longer holds sway over your present or future. This is not a guess. It is a promise based on immutable law, and you will see it unfold before your very eyes. Belief challenges resolved. Let us now utterly dismantle the limiting beliefs that have held you captive. You thought, "My past dictates my future." But now you understand that through revision, your past is fluid, an imaginal construct entirely subject to your creative will. You rewrite it, and by doing so, you change its energetic imprint, freeing your future from its grip. The past is only as real as you choose to remember it. You believed manifestation is only for special people. This is a lie. The law of assumption is universal. It operates for all, without exception, who apply it. The principles I have shared are tools available to every single individual who chooses to apply them with persistence and faith in their imagination. You are special because you are I am. You felt, "I need external validation or conditions to change." But you now know that your inner state is the sole cause. No external condition holds power over you. You hold the power to change the inner condition through assumption, and the outer must then conform. The outer world is merely a reflection. You insisted, "My logical mind needs to see a clear path for it to work." But the truth is, the logical mind is the servant, not the master. The subconscious, when impressed with the end, will reveal the path, often in ways that defy logic or your current understanding. Your task is to assume the end, not to engineer the means. And finally, you were taught, effort and struggle are necessary for success. This is perhaps the greatest deception. True creation flows from inner stillness, from the feeling of naturalness, from the joyful assumption of the wish fulfilled. Effortless manifestation is not an oxymoron. It is the natural outcome of aligning with the law, as you now understand. Open loops closed now. Let us bring full clarity to the questions that arose in your mind throughout our journey. Why do my conscious efforts often feel like pushing a rope? Your conscious efforts felt like pushing a rope because you were operating from a state of wanting rather than having, from the premise of lack rather than fulfillment. You were trying to manipulate the reflection instead of changing the image within, which is the true cause. What truly separates a wish from a fulfilled desire? The separation is the feeling of naturalness. A wish is a longing, acknowledging absence. A fulfilled desire is an inner certainty, an achieved state, felt as natural and normal. This feeling is the bridge between the inner and outer worlds. How can I stop past failures from sabotaging future attempts? You stop them through the power of revision. By actively rewriting those past failures in your imagination, you neutralize their negative emotional charge and prevent them from dictating your present emotional state or future expectations. The past is not what happened, but what you choose to remember and revise. Is there a daily practice that guarantees results, or is it merely luck? There is an absolutely guaranteed daily practice. The consistent nightly application of SATS with your imaginal act, coupled with daily revision and persistence in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is not luck, it is immutable, divine law in action. How do I bridge the gap between imagination and the physical world? You bridge that gap by embracing the imaginal act as fact, by living in the end, and by cultivating the feeling of naturalness until your desire is no longer a wish, but an established inner truth. The gap is only perceived when you fail to fully embody the desired state within. Once it feels real within, it must become real without. Final challenge choice tonight. You face a profound choice. Will you return to the old way of struggling against circumstances, of being a victim of your past and your limiting beliefs? Or will you embrace your inherent divine power, becoming the conscious architect of your destiny, boldly revising your past and deliberately creating your future? There is no middle ground. You are either the creator of your reality or you are its victim. The choice is yours, and it is made not by intention, but by assumption, by the feeling of what you are. Repeat a command. Do not let these profound truths fade. Play this teaching again tomorrow. Return to these principles daily until they are ingrained in your very being. Listen, apply, and observe the miraculous transformations that will unfold in your life. This is not just a lecture. It is a blueprint for your divine freedom, a map to your true self. Remember who you truly are, and never forget the power of your wonderful human imagination. Now, you understand that manifestation is not about magic or luck. It's about a precise, repeatable method. If you've ever felt that manifestation is only for special people, understand now that this is a lie. This process works for everyone who applies it with persistence, for it is universal law. But here is where many falter. Even after grasping these profound principles, you learn the law, you practice SATs, you cultivate the feeling of the wish fulfilled, but then a peculiar pattern emerges. You share your bird. Morning dream, your sacred imaginal act, with a close friend, a partner, or a family member. And what happens? A subtle shift, an eye roll, a dismissive word, a well-meaning but crippling skepticism. And in that moment, your vivid imaginal scene, your inner fire, begins to inexplicably drain away, leaving you questioning everything. You feel the weight of your vision diminish, as if a vital energy has been siphoned from it. You must understand this truth. The world, even the people you love most, can be the unwitting saboteur of your highest visions. The secret is not just what you assume, but how you protect that assumption. The advanced law. The sacred silence, the undeniable power of secrecy. Your imaginal acts are living seeds, potent with the power of creation. They are delicate in their initial stages, requiring a protected, fertile ground to germinate and grow into physical reality. When you expose these nascent seeds to the conscious doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs of others, you expose them to a hostile environment. Their conscious skepticism, though often well-intentioned, acts as a corrosive acid, disrupting the delicate, energetic blueprint you are impressing upon the subconscious. I learned this painful lesson early in my lecturing career. In the beginning, filled with enthusiasm and the thrill of discovery, I would often share my audacious visions for future lectures, books, or even personal goals with friends and acquaintances. I sought their encouragement, their validation, and almost without fail, the moment I spoke my dream aloud, I felt a subtle but undeniable weakening of its power. The vividness would dim, the feeling of certainty would waver. I'd receive comments like, "That sounds very ambitious, Neville, but are you sure it's realistic? Or don't get your hopes too high." And each time, I found myself fighting to regain that initial spark, that inner conviction. This was a brutal truth. Seeking external validation for my spiritual journey, for my imaginal acts, was a direct path to sabotage. My teacher, Abdullah, was stern on this point. "When you know what you are doing in imagination," he would say, "keep your mouth shut. The world does not need to know your inner process. It will see the accomplished fact. Do not cast your pearls before swine." He meant not that people are literally swine, but that their consciousness, filled with 3D limitations and skepticism, cannot comprehend or support the fourth-dimensional reality you are cultivating. Their disbelief is an unconscious curse upon your desire. They cannot help but project their own limitations onto your grandest visions. The subconscious mind, which is the builder of your world, is deeply influenced by the collective consciousness, by the opinions and beliefs of those around you. When you impress a desire upon your subconscious, you create a powerful, focused intention. But when you then allow external doubt to enter your field, it introduces static, disrupting the clear signal. It's like planting a rare, fragile seed in the dark, fertile earth of your garden, then immediately digging it up and showing it to every passerby who says, "That seed looks too small, it will never grow." You disturb the delicate process. You starve it of the protected environment it needs. The energy you expend in trying to convince others or in defending your vision is energy diverted from the actual creative act. Here's the brutal truth most teachers won't tell you. Most men still make the grave error of believing they need outside support and encouragement to achieve their goals. They mistakenly believe that sharing their dreams for accountability with others actually helps them manifest. They constantly seek affirmation, desperately hoping that others will see the potential in their vision. This desperate need for external validation is precisely what drains their imaginal acts of power, because it implies that their inner conviction is insufficient. They trade their sacred, undeniable inner truth for a fleeting, often critical, external opinion. But the master of manifestation understands that his inner conviction is the only necessary ingredient. He knows that external opinions are irrelevant noise. He guards his imaginal acts with fierce devotion, cultivating them in the sacred silence of his own being. He nourishes his inner vision, allowing it to grow strong and resilient, undisturbed by the world's skepticism. He knows that his imaginal act is so real, so absolute in the fourth dimension, that it requires no external witness until it becomes an undeniable fact in the physical world. He understands that true friends will not be supportive of a spiritual path they do not comprehend, and their conscious skepticism is a hidden poison to his imaginal acts. This simple shift changes everything. Mastery affirmation. Repeat this with me with absolute conviction right now. I am the sacred silence, the protected crucible of creation. Repeat this 10 times before sleep in a drowsy state, and every morning upon waking, feel the truth of this powerful declaration. The fourth dimension paradox: why validation destroys your imagination operates in the fourth dimension, a realm of pure potential and established reality that exists beyond the limitations of space and time. In this dimension, your imaginal act, once fully felt as real, is complete. It is done. It exists. The physical world is merely the shadow cast by this greater reality. When you seek validation for your imaginal act from someone in the three-dimensional world, you are, in essence, asking a shadow to confirm the existence of the object casting it. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the creative process. I recall a time when Henry Ford was developing his V8 engine. He told his engineers he wanted an 8-cylinder engine cast in a single block. The engineers, limited by the existing technology and their three-dimensional understanding, declared it impossible. It can't be done, they said. They offered him compromises, alternatives. But Ford, a man who understood the power of an idea held with conviction, simply said, "Produce it anyway." He didn't argue. He didn't seek their validation for his vision. He simply held to his conviction, his imaginal act of the V8 engine existing. For months, the engineers worked, failed, and reaffirmed their belief in its impossibility. Yet, Ford persisted, demanding that the work continue. He held the end result in his mind, feeling the reality of that engine, complete and functioning. He kept his inner vision sacred, and eventually, against all logical odds, they found a way. The V8 engine was produced. It was not the engineer's belief that created it, but Ford's unwavering, protected inner conviction. The psychological mechanism by which shared desires are unconsciously neutralized and your energy is siphoned is this. Your inner state is incredibly sensitive to external suggestion, especially from those you hold dear. When you express your audacious vision and you are met with skepticism, your conscious mind, seeking approval, begins to internalize that doubt. The seed of your desire, which was firmly planted in the subconscious, now faces an onslaught of negative reinforcement. It's like a tiny plant trying to grow, and every time you expose it to cold, harsh winds, it struggles. The energy you use to maintain your inner state of belief now has to contend with the vibrational drag of their disbelief. The emotional charge, the feeling of reality you cultivated, dissipates under the pressure of external negation. You lose the feeling of naturalness because their disbelief makes it feel unnatural, impossible. Stop. Hear these words carefully. If you leave without understanding this, you'll continue to expose your most precious creations to an invisible enemy, only to wonder why your visions stall and your energy drains. The profound and ancient secret power of closing the door on your desires until they are irrefutable, undeniable facts in your physical world is not about arrogance. It is about absolute self-protection. It is about understanding that your inner realm is sacred, a sanctuary where God performs his creative work. You don't invite the unbelievers into the Holy of Holies until the miracle is manifest for all to see. The very act of seeking external validation implies a lack of faith in your own power, and that lack is what the universe reflects back to you. Most men believe they need outside support and encouragement to achieve their goals. They are conditioned to think that collaboration and shared vision are always beneficial. They fail to distinguish between the support needed for a physical project with established parameters and the sacred, unseen creative act of imagination. Hold fast to her imaginal act as an accomplished fact, never wavering in her inner conviction. Weeks passed, and then, inexplicably, the director for that very play had a sudden change of heart about the other actress. He decided, quite spontaneously, to hold one more round of auditions. My friend was called in, and against all odds, she delivered a performance that, as the director himself later stated, was precisely what I had been searching for all along. She secured the role, and within months, her name was indeed in lights on Broadway, precisely as she had imagined. Her imaginal act, held as fact, had rearranged the physical world to conform to its truth. Subconscious programming, your imagination, is not a frivolous faculty. It is the very activity of God, the creative power within you. When you perform an imaginal act, you are not engaging in fantasy. You are performing an act of creation in the only place creation can truly begin, the fourth dimension, the dimension of pure consciousness. Every single physical object, every circumstance, every person you encounter in your three-dimensional world first exists as a perfect, complete reality in the imaginal realm. The outer world is merely the shadow, the physical manifestation of what is first conceived and held as true within. The subconscious mind does not differentiate between a vividly imagined experience and a physically encountered one. To the subconscious, they are equally real. Therefore, when you intensely imagine an event as an already accomplished fact, with all the sensory richness and emotional conviction, you are quite literally imprinting a new reality onto the fabric of existence. This new reality then begins to displace the old, compelling the physical world to reflect its newly established truth. This is why mere wishing is insufficient. Wishing acknowledges the lack. An imaginal act as fact, however, assumes the fulfillment, bypassing all perceived limitations and directly programming the subconscious to build that reality for you. It is the absolute reality. Contrast trap. Most men make the mistake of seeing their imagination as a tool for escapism, a place to dream without real consequence. They imagine their desires, but then immediately negate those images with doubts, fears, and the overwhelming evidence of their present reality. They treat their imaginal acts as hopeful possibilities rather than accomplished facts. They fail to understand that every time they allow their doubts to override their imaginal scene, they are, in effect, canceling their creative command and reinforcing the very reality they wish to escape. They are building, then immediately tearing down, ensuring that their desires remain in the realm of fantasy. But the man who understands the nature of reality knows that his imagination is the true creative power. He treats his imaginal acts with reverence, as sacred, undeniable truths. He knows that what he beholds within, though unseen by mortal eyes, is more real than anything his physical senses currently report. He persists in his chosen imaginal scene, nurturing it, feeling its reality, until it takes on the undeniable quality of a memory. He knows the outer world must then, without fail, yield to this inner, established fact. He truly understands that the imaginal act is the creative act. 1. Declaration affirmation. This affirmation rewrites your subconscious identity at the root level, declaring your inherent creative power. When you speak it aloud, you are not hoping. You are proclaiming what already is in the invisible, yet more real dimension. Say this with me now, with feeling, with conviction, and allow it to penetrate the core of your being. I am the operant power in my world. My imagination creates my reality. I claim my desires as already fulfilled. Repeat this morning and night, feeling the truth of it in your bones, knowing you are speaking reality into existence. Let these words become your unshakable truth, for I are the very essence of creation, Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly get what they want, while others struggle? The secret lies in treating the imaginal act not as a dream, but as a definitive, unassailable fact. In the next few minutes, I will show you how to apply this to the most stubborn aspect of your life, your past. Story-proof stack. The principle of revision is, for many, the most liberating and perhaps the most challenging to grasp, yet it is utterly foundational to conscious creation. I learned this directly through my own experience. There was a time when I had a rather unpleasant encounter with a man. He had spoken harshly to me, and in the moment, I had reacted poorly, letting his words sting and stew within me for days. This incident kept replaying in my mind, causing me distress and a feeling of injustice. I found myself recounting the story to others, inadvertently reinforcing its reality and solidifying the negativity, making me feel that my past dictates my future was an inescapable truth. Then I remembered Abdullah's teaching on revision. Do not carry the burden of an unwanted past into your present, rewrite it. So that night, as I lay in my bed, I consciously replayed the scene in my mind, but this time I changed it. Instead of his harsh words, I imagined him speaking kindly, respectfully, and with warmth. I imagined myself responding with grace and understanding, a true exchange of goodwill. I didn't just mentally edit the words. I felt the new emotions, the feeling of mutual respect, of a positive interaction, of a peaceful resolution. I replayed this revised scene several times until the original, unpleasant memory faded and was replaced by the feeling of the new, desired outcome. I did not focus on how this would affect anything. I simply felt the truth of the revised scene, embracing it as the real event. Days later, I unexpectedly encountered this very man again. To my utter astonishment, he approached me with genuine warmth, apologized for his previous behavior, which he described as uncharacteristic and regrettable, and spoke to me precisely with the kindness and respect I had imagined. Our subsequent interactions were always positive and cordial. The original event, as it had played out, had been completely expunged from his behavior and from my memory of him, replaced by my revised version. This was not coincidence, it was the direct, undeniable fruit of revision. The past is not fixed, it is fluid, subject to your imaginal power. It is an extraordinary testament to the fact that you are always creating. Subconscious programming. The past, as you perceive it, is not a static, immutable entity. It exists only in your memory, and memory itself is a creative act of imagination. Each time you recall an event, you are, in effect, recreating it. If you remember it with pain, you recreate that pain. If you remember it with anger, you recreate that anger. Your subconscious mind, which is the storehouse of all your impressions, does not distinguish between a past event and a present thought about a past event. To it, the act of remembering is a present experience, continually shaping your present and future. Therefore, when you consciously choose to revise a past event, you are literally changing the blueprint from which your current reality is continually unfolding. By altering the memory of an undesirable event, you are removing its energetic charge, preventing it from influencing your present and future. You are not denying reality, you are asserting a higher reality, the reality of your imaginal power. You are informing your subconscious that the new, revised version is the truth, and the subconscious, being utterly obedient, must then manifest circumstances and even influence the memories of others to align with this new truth. It is the ultimate act of self-forgiveness and self-empowerment, severing the chains of past limitation and opening entirely new pathway. Wise for your future, you are stopping past failures from sabotaging future attempts, quite literally. Contrast trap. Most men allow their past failures, hurts, and disappointments to dictate their present and future. They cling to narratives of what happened to me, carrying the weight of old grievances and perceived injustices. They believe their past is a fixed, unchangeable chain of events, forever determining their potential. They dwell on mistakes, replaying them endlessly, unknowingly reinforcing the very patterns they wish to escape. They are prisoners of their own memory, believing that external events hold them captive, trapped in a cycle of repeated experiences. They lament that my past dictates my future, never realizing they hold the key. But the man who understands revision knows that the past is but a shadow in the mind, subject to his creative will. He does not dwell on what was. He actively reshapes it. He understands that by altering the memory, he alters its energetic imprint, effectively neutralizing its power to influence his present. He realizes that "my past dictates my future" is a fundamental belief challenge that he must utterly destroy, and he destroys it through revision. He reimagines negative encounters as positive ones, perceived failures as valuable lessons leading to success, and past limitations as opportunities for growth. He truly understands that by mastering the past within, he masters his entire destiny, becoming free of the chains of memory. Let me ask you this: if you could truly erase the sting of any past regret, any perceived failure, and replace it with a feeling of triumph and peace, would you not seize that power? What if I told you this wasn't mere wishful thinking, but a precise, repeatable method that yields tangible shifts in your reality, not just for you, but for all involved? Story-proof stack the state akin to sleep, which I refer to as SATS, is not just a technique. It is the natural gateway to the subconscious, the very portal through which your desires become facts. I discovered the profound efficacy of SATS early in my studies with Abdullah. He impressed upon me that the threshold between waking and sleeping is where the conscious mind's resistance is lowered and the subconscious becomes most receptive. I had a desire at one point to secure a particular financial opportunity. It wasn't about greed, but about being able to support my family and dedicate myself more fully to teaching, requiring a substantial sum. I knew that simply thinking about money or willing it to appear was futile. Instead, every night as I lay in bed, I would intentionally enter SATS. This is that drowsy, languid state, neither fully awake nor entirely asleep, where the body is relaxed, but the mind remains aware, though less analytical. In this state, I would clearly imagine a scene implying the fulfillment of my desire. I would feel the crispness of new banknotes in my hands, count them, feel the texture, and experience the profound relief and gratitude that would naturally accompany such a successful venture. I didn't think about the money. I experienced the feeling of possessing it, of having successfully secured the opportunity. I would hold this scene, impressing it upon my subconscious until I drifted off to sleep, feeling it to be true. I persisted in this for several weeks. There was no struggle, no strain, simply the quiet, confident assumption in SATS. Then, quite unexpectedly, an acquaintance contacted me with an offer that was exactly what I had been imagining, down to the very specific financial figures. It arrived with an ease and grace that defied all conventional understanding of how such things come about. The SATS had effectively bypassed my conscious doubts and directly implanted the seed of my desire into the fertile ground of the subconscious, which then brought it forth into my three-dimensional world. This state is not just for sleep, it is a powerful tool for conscio. Us creation, subconscious programming. The subconscious mind is most receptive when the conscious, analytical mind is quieted. The state akin to sleep SATS is precisely that condition. It is the borderland between the waking world of cause and effect and the inner world of pure cause. In this alpha brainwave state, the critical faculty of the conscious mind, the part that doubts, questions, and analyzes recedes. This allows your imaginal acts and your deeply felt assumptions to bypass all resistance and sink directly into the subconscious, unimpeded. Think of the conscious mind as the gatekeeper and the subconscious as the garden. In SATS, the gatekeeper is momentarily distracted, allowing you to plant the seeds of your desires directly into the rich soil of your subconscious without interference. Whatever thought, feeling, or imaginal scene you consistently impress upon the subconscious in this state will be accepted as truth. The subconscious then, being the ultimate creative power, will marshal all forces visible and invisible to bring that imaginal seed to fruition in your outer world. This is not some esoteric ritual. It is a fundamental neurological and spiritual mechanism, a direct line to the creative matrix of all reality. It is the most fertile ground for planting your desires, ensuring that your efforts are always fruitful. Contrast trap. Most men try to manifest their desires when their conscious mind is fully alert and engaged, bombarded by the day's events, doubts, and worries. They try to think themselves into a new reality, only to find their efforts constantly undermined by their inner critic and the perceived limitations of their current circumstances. They struggle against a constant internal dialogue of "it's impossible" or "how will this ever work?" Their conscious attempts are often like trying to plant a delicate seed in barren, rocky soil without first preparing the ground. They believe my logical mind needs to see a clear path for it to work, thereby hindering the very process. But the man who masters SATS understands the power of timing and receptivity. He knows that the hours before deep sleep and upon waking are golden opportunities. He consciously cultivates this drowsy, relaxed state, knowing it's where his creative power is amplified and resistance is minimized. He bypasses the analytical mind, choosing to communicate directly with the subconscious in its most impressionable state. He plants his desired scene with feeling and then releases it, trusting the subconscious to do its work. He understands that this is not about forceful action, but about gentle, persistent impression, allowing the natural intelligence of the universe to do the heavy lifting. 2. Command affirmation. This affirmation empowers you to take direct command of your inner state, programming your mind for success even in your most receptive moments. It is a powerful instruction to your subconscious, delivered with the certainty of your divine authority. Repeat this with intention, feeling the shift in your being. I consciously enter the state akin to sleep each night. My imaginal acts, impressed upon my subconscious, manifest effortlessly and perfectly. I command my reality. Say this before you lie down to sleep and allow its truth to guide you into that fertile state. Feel its power and know that you are aligning with the very source of all creation. What if the key to unlocking your greatest desires wasn't about more effort, but about a simple, daily practice done in the most relaxed state? Many believe manifestation is only for special people, but I tell you, this simple technique makes it accessible to all who apply it. Story-proof stack. Beyond SATS, there is a deeper state of receptivity, one cultivated through the conscious practice of inner stillness, the silence of the mind. This isn't about mere quiet. It's about the cessation of internal chatter, the quieting of the constant stream of thoughts, judgments, and reactions that typically fill our waking moments. It's a state where you are pure awareness, without labels or demands. I recall a period when I was seeking profound clarity on the nature of God, to understand the I am more deeply, beyond intellectual understanding. I had read countless texts, listened to many teachers, but felt I was still grasping at concepts rather than experiencing the truth of who I am. I began to dedicate specific periods each day, not to imaginal acts for specific desires, but simply to be still. I would sit quietly, allowing my thoughts to come and go without attachment, without judgment, without following them. My goal was not to clear my mind by force, but to observe without engaging until the thoughts naturally subsided and a profound inner silence emerged. It was often challenging at first, as the mind is a busy servant, but with persistence, moments of profound stillness began to appear. In these moments, I experienced a clarity, a sense of unity and presence that transcended any teaching. It was an undeniable communion with the divine within. From this state of inner silence, answers to my deepest questions would emerge, not as thoughts, but as sudden, undeniable knowing. My understanding of the law of my own divine nature deepened exponentially. It was not a logical process, it was a revelation. Moreover, when I then engaged in imaginal acts after cultivating this silence, the vividness, the feeling of reality, and the speed of manifestation were significantly amplified. The silence prepared the field, making it infinitely more fertile for any seed I wished to plant. It showed me that the answers I sought were not out there, but residing within the deepest stillness of my own being, the core of I am. Subconscious programming, the silence of the mind, is not an absence. It is a presence, the presence of pure, unadulterated consciousness, the I am, that is the very essence of God within you. In this state, you transcend the egoic mind, the conditioned mind, and connect directly with the universal subconscious, which is infinite intelligence. When the incessant stream of thoughts, worries, and external distractions is stilled, you create an open channel. This channel allows for direct communication with the source of all creation, enabling deep insights, intuitive guidance, and a powerful resonance that supercharges your manifestations. The subconscious, which operates through feeling and impression, is most profoundly influenced not by argument or effort, but by the quiet, absolute conviction that arises from a still mind. When you approach your imaginal acts from a place of inner stillness, they carry an authority and a certainty that cannot be achieved through mental effort alone. It's like tuning into a perfect signal, free from static. The still mind removes all resistance, all doubt, all hows, allowing the divine pattern to imprint itself perfectly onto the subconscious, ensuring its harmonious and effortless manifestation in the physical world. It cultivates the very ground of being from which all true creation springs, allowing you to access the effortless how that your logical mind often demands. Contrast trap: most men believe that to achieve their desires, they must constantly think about them, strategize, plan, and analyze every possible pathway. They fill their minds with noise, with constant internal debates about probabilities and possibilities, never realizing that this very mental agitation often obstructs the free flow of creative power. They mistake mental activity for actual creation, when in truth, often the most powerful creation happens in the absence of frantic thought. They believe they need to see a clear path for it to work, clinging to logical explanations, which is another belief challenge holding them back, preventing them from witnessing the spontaneous unfoldment of the law. But the man who embraces the silence of the mind knows that true power lies in stillness. He understands that the solutions to his challenges, the pathways to his desires, and the deep understanding of his being emerge from the quiet. He does not fear the absence of thought. He cultivates it, knowing that in that sacred space, his connection to infinite intelligence is strongest. He allows the how to unfold naturally, trusting that the perfect path will reveal itself once the inner static is removed. He understands that the greatest acts of creation often flow from a profound inner peace, rather than from mental strain, truly defying the belief that effort and struggle are necessary for success. 3. Process affirmation. This affirmation establishes a powerful, habitual pattern of connecting to your deepest inner wisdom and enhancing your creative power through stillness. It trains your subconscious to operate from a place of profound clarity and divine connection. Speak this truth, letting it guide your every thought and action. My practice of inner stillness creates clear intuition and effortless manifestation. I connect with the divine wisdom within, and my world unfolds perfectly. I am always in alignment. Use this as a constant reminder, seeking moments of stillness throughout your day. Let it become your natural state of being. Hear me now. You've been conditioned to believe that effort and struggle are necessary for success, a profound belief challenge that keeps you shackled. But what if I told you that the most potent force for attracting your desires lies not in striving, but in profound stillness? This stillness is not inaction. It is the ultimate action, the ultimate source of power. Storyproof Stack. The principle of living in the end is the cornerstone of effective manifestation. It is the art of occupying the feeling of your wish fulfilled now, not as a future hope, but as a present reality. I once knew a woman who yearned for a loving partner. She had spent years searching, dating, and constantly feeling the void of being alone. Her conscious efforts felt like pushing a rope, as the open loop suggests. She focused on meeting new people, on the mechanics of dating, but always from a place of wanting a partner, which paradoxically only reinforced her single state. This perpetual seeking kept her from the very fulfillment she desired. I instructed her to stop searching outwardly and instead to live as if she was already happily married. Not to imagine a wedding, but to feel the daily reality of a loving partnership. Every night, she would imagine the weight of a wedding band on her finger, the warmth of her husband's hand in hers as they walked, the sound of his voice telling her he loved her. She didn't conjure a specific face or name. She focused purely on the feeling of being loved, cherished, and complete in a partnership. She would go to sleep feeling his presence beside her, hearing his gentle breathing. She cooked meals for two, she cleared space in her closet, she imagined herself sharing her day with him, feeling the quiet, calm certainty of his presence. She asked herself, how would it feel if this were already a done deal? How would I walk, speak, feel if this was just a normal part of my life now? She lived in this assumed state for about 3 months. The external world seemed completely unresponsive at first, challenging her conviction. Yet she persisted in the feeling of being fulfilled, never wavering from this inner assumption. She told me, Neville, when I think of him now, it just feels natural, like he's always been there. This feeling of naturalness was the ultimate test. Then, quite unexpectedly, she met a man through a casual social event, not a dating service, not a setup, but a chance encounter. Their connection was immediate and profound. Within 6 months, they were engaged, and within a year, they were married. She said it felt as though she had known him forever, that it was simply the physical manifestation of the inner reality she had been cultivating. Her living in the end, culminating in that profound feeling of naturalness, created the pathway for that end to become her present. The desired outcome felt utterly normal and inevitable, a clear sign of its imminent manifestation. Subconscious programming living in the end is the ultimate act of faith and the supreme command to your subconscious. Your subconscious mind recognizes only the present moment. It does not understand I will be or I wish to be. It understands I am and I have. When you consistently occupy the feeling of your desire already fulfilled, you are telling your subconscious in no uncertain terms, this is my current reality. You are impressing upon it a state of being, not a future aspiration. This feeling of the wish fulfilled becomes the dominant vibration, the core programming that your subconscious must then align the outer world with. It acts like a magnet, drawing in all necessary circumstances, people, and events to perfectly match that inner state of fulfillment. It's a profound shift from striving to receiving, from wanting to having. When you live in the end, you cease to chase desires, for you are already experiencing them within. This internal experience is the true cause, and the outer manifestation is merely the inevitable effect. This is how you bridge the gap between imagination and the physical world, by realizing there is no gap when you truly live from the end, and when that end feels utterly natural. The subconscious mind, while infinitely powerful, recognizes what is natural and effortlessly brings it into being. If your imaginal act feels forced, artificial, or like a struggle, it means there is still resistance, still a part of you that believes it is not possible or not yet true. But when your desired state feels completely natural, normal, and inevitable, it means you have fully assimilated the new identity, the new reality within your subconscious, and its manifestation is a certainty. Contrast trap: most men perpetually live in the means, in the how, and in the lack. They are constantly striving, working hard, and trying to figure out the logical steps to achieve their desires. They focus on the journey, often missing the destination. They live from the premise that they don't have what they want, and in doing so, they continually recreate the experience of not having. They push their conscious efforts like a rope, feeling the strain and friction, never understanding that the universe responds to the feeling of already having, not the struggle to get. They believe I need external validation or conditions to change, which is a profound belief challenge, keeping them dependent on external factors. They also try to force excitement, but they fail to settle into the quiet, unassuming feeling of having that comes when something feels truly natural. But the man who practices living in the end is a master of creation. He bypasses the how entirely, knowing that the means are infinite and will naturally present themselves once the end is firmly established. He occupies the state of the wish fulfilled, feeling the naturalness of it, the relief, the joy, the peace that comes from already possessing his desire. He realizes that my logical mind needs to see a clear path for it to work, is a prison of his own making, and that the feeling of naturalness transcends all logic. He trusts his inner world completely, knowing that the outer world must, by immutable law, conform to his established inner state. He dwells in the feeling of accomplishment and its inherent naturalness, not in the agony of effort, thus bridging the gap between imagination and the physical world. 4. Process affirmation. This affirmation establishes a powerful, habitual pattern of living from the end, ensuring your daily state is one of fulfilled desire, culminating in the serene feeling of naturalness. It trains your subconscious to operate from a place of abundance and accomplished purpose. Speak this truth, letting it guide your every thought and action. My daily practice of living from the end creates effortless manifestation. I dwell in the feeling of my wish fulfilled, embracing its naturalness, and my reality conforms to this truth. I am always fulfilled and at peace. Use this as a constant reminder, bringing your thoughts back to the feeling of fulfillment and its inherent naturalness throughout your day. Let it become your natural state. Listen carefully. Many ask, why do my conscious efforts often feel like pushing a rope? The answer lies in where you are choosing to live. Are you living from the state of wanting or from the state of having, with all the naturalness of an accomplished fact? This feeling of naturalness is the ultimate test, and the next principle shows you how to never lose it. Story proof stack. The final, indispensable principle is persistence in the assumption. It is not enough to imagine once. You must dwell in the assumption until it takes on the feeling of reality and naturalness. William Blake, a profound mystic, understood this implicitly. His entire life was a testament to his persistent imagination, often in the face of profound public indifference and financial struggle. He faced immense criticism and poverty, yet he never wavered in his inner conviction of his artistic and spiritual mission. He persisted in seeing his visions, his grand designs, as absolute reality, even when the outer world provided no evidence of their acceptance or appreciation. One specific example, though not a material one, illustrates his persistence, his unwavering belief in his spiritual visions. He was often ridiculed for stating he saw angels in trees or conversed with prophets, or for the unique, mystical language of his poetry and art. Yet he never faltered in his conviction of their reality. He persisted in his assumption of an animate, divinely interconnected world, despite the rationalism and skepticism of his era. And in his persistence, he created a body of work that transcended his time, eventually recognized as monumental and deeply profound. His life demonstrated that an unwavering inner vision will always outlast outer skepticism. My own journey required persistence, too. When I desired to be honorably discharged from the army during World War II, a feat my commanding officer declared impossible due to regulations and troop needs, I faced a formidable outer challenge. I could have given up. Instead, I persisted every night, for weeks, in imagining myself sleeping in my own bed at home, a civilian, free from military obligation. I felt the relief, the freedom, the naturalness of being back in my life. My imagination provided no external proof, only the inner feeling of certainty. I was told repeatedly, "It's not going to happen, Goddard," but I persisted. After weeks of unwavering assumption, a letter arrived, entirely out of the blue, granting me an honorable discharge, signed by the War Department. It was a complete anomaly, an event that defied military protocol, yet it perfectly mirrored my persistent assumption. My persistence turned the impossible into the undeniable, proving that effort and struggle are necessary for success is a profound illusion. Subconscious programming, the subconscious mind, while infinitely powerful, requires consistent impression to fully accept a new instruction. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't plant it once and then dig it up daily to check its progress. You plant it, water it, and trust that it will grow. Similarly, persistence in the assumption means consistently revisiting your imaginal act or dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled and its naturalness until it feels absolutely natural, until it takes on the quality of an established fact within your consciousness. Every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you deepen the grooves in your subconscious, reinforcing the new reality. This consistent impression eventually displaces any